Alrighty. So I feel like this video is a little long overdue. I feel like a lot of students may have benefited from this maybe early as October, even earlier than that, for interviews, especially if you're applying for an early application. But a lot of you are also starting to get interview requests for your regular application. So better late than never here. So there's a very common, if not most common question that you're asked in these types of interviews, and it's tell me about yourself. And hopefully I can give you a little insight, give you a couple of pro tips on how to do that, and of course how not to sound potato while doing so. Let's begin. So disclaimer before I begin anything, the truth about your response potential, watching these kinds of videos and then having this eureka moment is not really always going to be the case. Many students and parents believe that you could just come last minute to a professional consultant such as myself and then go from silver to diamond. For those of you guys who don't understand that, I think that's more of like a Zoomer reference in terms of rankings. I think it's like bronze, then you're silver, then you're platinum, then you're diamond, and then after diamond there's master, and then after master there's grandmaster. So when I say that you're silver, it means you're kind of a scrub, you're kind of a potato. Yeah, something are even crazier than that. Some parents and students come in, they think they can come in last minute and get help and go from a silver student to becoming a grandmaster, top 500 student, and that's often not the case. The quality of response depends on the quality of your experiences. It's as simple as that. And the quality of your experiences take time to build. So if you are thinking, oh my gosh, I got to do these interviews, I just got an email and I got to figure out what I'm going to say. A lot of that's going to come down to whether or not you spent the last 2 years at least building towards, impressive experiences. So my advice right off the bat, especially if you're a younger student, good on you if you're watching videos like this. Oh my gosh, that's very try hard of you. That's good. I like that. I respect that. Get off your potato sacks by at least 10th grade. You want to be grinding your experiences up, at least starting from 10th grade. Get deeper and deeper in your interests each year. Also, the quality of your response will depend on the quality of your communication skills. I've seen a lot of brilliant students on paper. Like, they are paper god tier students. And then when I meet with them, their eyes are looking on the ground. Their voice is very peep squeaky, if not there at all. Your communication skills, I remember reading or watching one of the richest men in the world, Warren Buffett. He has advice that he gives for younger people. And I think he said one of his top 3 advice is to invest in your communication skills. And I couldn't agree more. The older you get, the more you'll start to realize that your communication skills are really like the first facade, the first way of engaging with people and the way people are going to engage with you. And I have a pro tip at the bottom there. Imagine if you watched 1,000 hours of just super high level interview people. So like CEOs of Microsoft, for example, and you watch clips of him on YouTube, how he behaves, his mannerism, you're taking note of where he puts his hand, how he thinks about a question, versus let's say you only had 10 hours of watching that type of content. Who do you think is going to have the advantage? Who do you think is going to be able to emulate more of a professional set of skill sets for when you're communicating? So pro tip there, spend more time watching interviews. If you really are worried about this, go on YouTube, start watching. Anyways, why is this question so important? Tell me about yourself is the first question. I'd say like 90% of the time, it's going to be the question that they're going to open with. It's like the opening salvo. And just like you're about to get into a situation, like the element of that first advantage, that surprise advantage is something that you can leverage to great effect. How you answer the question is, in my opinion, really going to set the tone for you. It's really going to set whether I'm going to be more interested in you or not, or if I'm immediately going to be like, oh, it's another potato. But more importantly, it gives you control. If you do this the right way, it's hard to explain, but you're going to take control of the interview and you're going to have the confidence that comes with that as a result. 2 main strategies that work, okay? I'm sure there are more strategies, but these are the 2 that I've seen be the most effective, at least from a high school student perspective. But the first one is to introduce your theme, So to develop a theme and to go with that. And then the second is to showcase your menu. And I kind of have a metaphor or an analogy to like when you go to a fancy restaurant. I'll explain. Strategy number one, the theme, developing your theme. So I'm going to show you two examples. This is example A. This is from PBS Brief But Spectacular. If you guys want to watch more content that is, I guess, like nutrition for your brain, nutrition for your intellect, for your social awareness, highly recommend Brief But Spectacular. I don't remember when I ran across this. I was actually probably driving to work, and this came up on the radio, the PBS radio. So I'm going to show you this. Hopefully I could get us to where it really begins.
More than half the children in American schools.
Let's go to the 53-minute mark.
Color, but they're
all right, here we go.
I've always thought seeing is believing. I wanted to build optical instruments to be able to see into the body. And that's why I decided to do biomedical engineering, and I actually did build microscopes to image how cancer spreads through the body. I started to see the role of the immune cells in that process, and thinking of how I can use those immune cells to target the cancer cells in a way more effective way than just inserting drugs directly into the bloodstream.
And there you go. I love the way she started that. She began with this core theme, seeing is believing. And that's what led me growing up throughout middle school and high school, getting really interested in, optical technologies and things like that. And then eventually do you see how she kind of branches out? It's kind of like a tree trunk. She's really showing how from one core theme, she sprouted this broader interest and sense of a range of experiences that she subsequently pursued. I have a funny little note about this. I kind of think that seeing is believing is actually not the right motto for a scientist, because isn't it that you shouldn't believe everything your eyes tell you? Like, when it comes to like nature and phenomena, all the things that are out there, like the human apparatus, the human measuring sensory apparatus is actually pretty terrible. Like, we're terrible at eyesight. We don't see a lot of like the different ranges of electromagnetic radiation. And yeah, I mean, didn't they get rid of eyewitness testimony as being like super solid in US legal in like courts and stuff? But anyways, I'm getting off track. Seeing is believing. I would disagree with the sentiment there, but I would definitely agree with the way she packaged that as an intro. I thought that was really sharp. Here's option.
More than half the children.
Let's go with B here now. Okay, let's go to B. So this one's from Nicola Raihani. The Royal Institution. I'm always going to be recommending stuff from the Royal Institution. If you guys have not subscribed to the Royal Institution yet, do so. It's premium grade A5 Wagyu for your brain. Or maybe if you're a vegetarian. Oh shoot, I don't have a vegetarian. Anyways, let's watch it. So we're going to go to quickly around the 20 minutes right there.
So I'm an evolutionary biologist, and I'm deeply interested in the question of why individuals cooperate and what it means to be a social species. And I'm so interested in the question that I wrote a book about it. And that's what I'd like to share with you, some highlights from that book.
All right, so you get the same idea. She starts off with a theme. Maybe if you had to do it from a student point of view, you're not obviously an evolutionary biologist yet, but maybe you're an aspiring biologist. And in that sense, you're deeply interested in the questions about stem cell research and the future of blah, 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 blah. And so, again, starting with a core theme, I love the way she started with questions that were like paradoxically simple, but also profound. Why do individuals cooperate? Right? And maybe that can go into psychology and things of that nature. So maybe a pro tip here is if you can come up with a question, an intellectual question that then spurs you towards all different kinds of learning, I think that could be an awesome, like, honestly, I think strategy number one really stands out to me the most, because it's kind of risky. You're starting with a singular kind of hit at the bat. And if it works really well, it's really going to be impressionable. It's going to stand out for me. Strategy number two. Oops, sorry. So strategy number two. This is what I normally resort to. If you're not able to or not, kind of down for the first strategy of developing a theme. I think going with a menu, I say to 3 main courses, probably the way to go. The analogy I use here is a fancy restaurant. So let's say you go to a very fancy restaurant and you just know that the place is fancy. You don't know what their specials are for the day or their main courses are for the day. And so you get sat down, all this fancy dinnerware and stuff all around, and then this waitress or waiter comes over, right? And they introduce the menu. They put it on their arm and they showcase what's going to be fresh and straight from the seafood market tonight, and yada yada yada. So it's kind of the same thing. You're trying to showcase yourself at the tell me about yourself opening remark. I used an example here for myself a little bit. It's kind of a mix. Some of this is just made up stuff that I've seen with students over the years, but some of this also is personal to me. So I'd have a 3-step category: trifecta, triplets. Always a good, strong structure in anything you do. So the first thing I'd start with is a little bit more open and fun. I'd start with the fact that I'm a huge fan of the outdoors, and I'd begin with maybe a personal note. So my note would be that it began really young because of my dad. He was Army vet, and as a result, he kind of passed that sense of outdoorsiness down onto me, especially his love for fishing. That then connected to my love for Boy Scouts when I started camping, hiking, kayaking, and then I spent a lot of my free time ever since just being more outdoors. Latest being spearfishing around the Catalina Islands off the coast of California. And then I'm already in the midst of resume flexing, if you notice that I mentioned Boy Scouts. Most students will start with like I'm an Eagle Scout, and they'll jump straight to the resume flex. And while that's not always a bad idea, the tendency that I see is that students will overdo their resume flexing, and then you just look like you just look robotic. You just look like you are just listing out your achievements, and that's also not that good. But if you can have a sense of softness and personalness that builds up to what your resume flexes and strengths are, that's really the key to pulling this off. Anyways, the resume flex here would be that, maybe one of your top 3 activities is that you intern at the UCI Marsh, where you assist with ecological preservation volunteer work. So see how you can connect all of that without making it just straight up a resume flex. Number 2, by the way, when you transition, there's no beautiful transition that's necessary, right? If a student comes to me and they're like, in addition, secondly, thirdly, I'm going to be like, wow, this kid's really straight edge. This kid's really organized, but maybe he needs to melt the ice a little. So when I'm transitioning, I'd go with, you know what? The next big thing about me probably would be music and my entrepreneurship. I started off prototypically. My mom was a musician herself. She was a pianist, and she taught me when I was young. But it wasn't until I got into 4th grade that I picked up the cello. We had a choice at school in our music program to decide what stringed instrument we'd go to. And I really resonated with the cello, the timbre, the tone, the depth of it and all. And that's what led me into the world of orchestras, competitive as well as just volunteer and church organization wise. OCYO, PSYO, all state, all Southern. This is where I'd suggest a pro tip. See how I'm resume flexing at this point? When you resume flex, make sure you don't end with a resume flex. Start with the resume flex and then go into what I call introspection. Okay, so if you think about orchestra and spending a lot of time doing music, what's an introspection I could say about it? Well, what I came up with is that my journey into the world of orchestra music has really become the way I've built a huge sense of community around, whether it's a statewide community, whether it's a local community, whether it's a church community. It's through music that I've always felt like I had people I can go to, people I could share an experience with. And so that's been a huge benefit for me. That's been a huge, gratifying part of my musicianship and my life. And then I'd go into resume flex number 2. From all this, I also run the Irvine String Quartet. We're available for booking small weddings and events. And at this point, if you want to be super slick, you have a little website that you can link them or show them, or even like a business card or something like that. But yeah, that's what I would say about my music and entrepreneurship. Last but not least, I'd probably say I'd reserve my last part for the major vision or your major choice. I'd go with the fact that I'm interested in computer science and electrical engineering. That's the major that I'm trying to pursue for X college, whichever college you're interviewing for. And then I'd go again back to telling that personal story. I remember my dad bringing home the very first Pentium 2 processor computer, and that was the start for me. Ever since, there's a lot of kind of keynotes or milestones along the way, but I started getting into the DIY community, writing guides on forums like macrumors.com about how to get your MacBook thermal paste kind of reapplied, because the way they do it in the factories is really bad. Like they sometimes apply too much, and then that can lead to performance issues. And then I'd go into resume flexing to more of like the more recent, latest, my strongest activities, like saying that last summer I enjoyed going through the MIT Beaverworks coursework and ultimately going through the summer program itself. And that's where I really manifested my interest, kind of consolidated my direction towards UI UX development, specifically when it comes to like augmented reality, virtual reality, metaverse, meta that to me is kind of the frontier that I want to explore. And then when you go to an end, I didn't put a bullet point about the end, but same thing when it comes to transitions. You just want to say, just very naturally, you don't want to come off as too straight and too organized, because then I'm going to kind of see if you're being too scripted, and that's also not a good thing. So the way I'd end is just, and that's a little bit about who I am. Notice the inflection there. I might have to add a pro tip, like when you're answering questions, there's these vocal inflections that you could do to signal to the person that you're done. And so the thing I just did there was down to up, right? And then the other way is you could do up to down. And that's a little bit about who I am. And that's a little bit about who I am. Right? So that can often show a little bit of communication skills that hopefully more of you students can start to pick up. Because sometimes, man, it's so awkward when you think you're done, but then the other guy doesn't get it, your interviewer doesn't get it, and so you guys are just staring at each other with awkward silence. Oof, that's a cringe moment. We want to avoid that. So how should I practice? How long should my response be? Try to practice with an outline. I absolutely would not recommend, okay? I do not recommend you word for word writing out what you want to say. Because if you do, I think it just makes it feel too fake, too blocky, too scripted. So what you want to do is you want to have an outline. So coming back to kind of the menu strategy, notice how I'm not writing everything word for word. I'm just hitting kind of the main points that I can flitter my eyes over just to kind of remind myself as I'm talking. You want to aim for about 2-3 minutes. I think if you go too long in your response, you guys ever have that experience where like you just want to chill in the quad at lunch, but then your friend comes over or someone comes over and they just won't stop talking, and you just have to be nice about it. It's like, oh man, that sucks, bro. But then I think all of you guys had that experience before. So don't be that guy who's just overly talking. I think, again, comes into balance, comes into communication skills. Pacing yourself. I think pacing yourself is best expressed or best demonstrated by actually example A's and example B of the first strategy. The two ladies on the YouTube example that I give, they're very good at pacing themselves in terms of how they speak sentence to sentence, point to point. And then last but not least, I think your goal as you're practicing, your goal is to be simpler. The simpler, the better. Obviously not too simple. You want to give them some juicy content to cling to, something to kind of poke at, right? Oh, tell me more about your Boy Scout years. Oh, tell me more about Catalina Island and going spearfishing. Oh, tell me more about what you do at UCI. Like, what exactly is the ecological preservation work that you do? And do you see how that gives you control? How that gives you kind of, you're essentially giving the interviewer the choices for them to follow. And then from there, it's how prepared you are to talk about those follow-up things. Like, and I think giving your interviewer something to poke at is important, but it's a balance. You don't want to go too simple, but simple is the goal. All right, so Counselor Jay, I think I'm a potato. I just finished watching all this, and I'm like, I don't have anything. I don't know what to do. What should I do? Well, I'm glad you asked. First thing, I think, and I'm being serious about this, I think a lot of students, and even adults, even professionals, I think the one thing that's super underrated is becoming as coachable as you can. Some students and even professionals are really hard to coach. And usually it's because either they think they're right, they think they're better than you, they think they know more than you, or something of that sort. I'm not going to go into too much detail of that, but first point there, accept that you're a potato. Okay, you're all potatoes. I'm a potato. I've been doing this for over a decade and a half, and I'm still learning new things to do. I'm still learning how to get better. So accept that you're a potato and put aside your pride. Usually this could kind of spark a sub-question of why are you a potato? And it's usually because you're not putting in the time to grind out non-potato things. You're either TikToking too much, right? Or you're going online and you're deciding which of the BTS or Blackpink members you like most, okay? Or you're watching too much anime or manga. Don't get me wrong, like I don't mind you guys watching these kinds of things, okay? I'm a huge fan of Naruto because, man, that guy as a character, he's an awesome character, right? I would love to have more students learn about his fierce loyalty of friendship and yada, yada, yada. But at the end of the day, anime and manga is essentially very shallow. Anime and manga, not all, but majority of them are they don't really go too deep. And as a result, it limits the ceiling of your thoughts and your vocabulary and your expressional thoughts too. Meddling in vapidness. I have a slide for this later on, but if you're the type, or if you might even hear this, a lot of people being focused on he said, she said, we said, they said. If you're into that kind of zone, chances are you're kind of a potato. Stop making excuses. This is the number one for me. Man, when someone makes an excuse, okay, whatever it is, maybe you're playing a video game and it's like, oh, it's because my teammate sucks. Oh, it's because it's toxic. It's so cringe when I hear that. Or in class, maybe it's maybe you're not getting a good grade, right? Can't imagine how many times in my professional career I heard, oh, it's because my teacher sucks. What had happened was my teacher didn't do this assignment or didn't give us this or put this question on a test. And it's like, at the end of the day, you might be right. Yeah, okay, maybe it's not fair that the teacher, gave you a test question that wasn't covered in the study material. But guess what? In real life, you're going to have bosses that are going to be like that. You're going to have work problems that are going to be like that. That there's no manual to solve. There's no sense of fairness. You just have to either perform and get the job done or not. And those who make excuses, that's the cringe, man. That's the cringe. Why are you a potato? It's because you're dreaming too much. You're too sucked away into your dreams. I have one of my favorite poems is "If" by Rudyard Kipling, and one of the lines, I think it's like in the second stanza, he goes, "Dream, but don't let dreams be your master." So if you are trying to escape into your dreams, you come home after school and you're escaping into fantasy dreams, whatever it may be, and that's all you're escaping into, whether it's video games, whether it's Korean dramas. It's okay to enjoy those things, but if it then becomes your master and that becomes your escape, that becomes territory for potential potatoness. And lastly, work hard, work smart, work consistently, and start now. I think I have the next slide here. Pro tip, level up your potato thoughts. Potatoes, silver, bronze people, they consume people and drama. When you level up, you'll realize you start to think more about places and times. And then when you want to get to the highest of levels, the Grand Master levels, you're analyzing and producing ideas. So maybe you can kind of do a quick hierarchy evaluation of where you're at, what you spend a lot of your time thinking, saying, doing, and maybe this can call you out. Pro tip, good things are rarely, that's a little bit off for the grammar, but good things rarely have shortcuts. They're hard to earn and they're easy to lose. Bad things often are very associated to shortcuts. They're easy to gain and they're hard to lose. You want to be focused on getting good things. And the bottom line is good things take time. Good things take effort. I think that's all I had, actually. So hopefully this was helpful, guys. When you're thinking about tell me about yourself, the truth of the matter is the answer to and the quality of your answer really begins much earlier than way before even you get your invitation or your email asking for an interview your senior year. I'd say beginning in 9th to 10th grade, this is where you should be really investing your time into experiences that are notable. You want to be focusing on building the way you can introspect and communicate your introspections. And I hope that this video was helpful in getting you aware of that. And hopefully, if it's not too late for you, I would say it's never too late. You can always keep trying. Even if you have an interview next week and you realize you're a total potato, don't give up. Just try your best and learn from it, because there's always going to be more opportunities, and you'll always be able to apply what you learn into future opportunities. And that's all I got to say. Thank you guys so much.